Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Vampire Coast, who's going to be led by Celestra, and the High Elves, who are going to be led by Lithanar and his crazy ass eyes. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So here in the front line, we do have three groups of the zombie pirate deckhand mobs. And yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about these guys. I mean, I guess they do have a huge HP pool. They have 8,880 HP, and if we compare that to some spearmen, they have 5,600. So yeah, definitely a pretty good tar pit unit. And for the cost, I think they're a little bit better in the front line than the halberds. Yes, the halberds have better armor piercing against the white lions, and if they get charged by like dragon princes, they're going to be able to put up a better fight. But still, for 300 gold, I think you're just going to be throwing away your front line anyway, so might as well get these zombie pirate deckhand mobs. And hey, these guys are definitely ready to go out in their shields, or I guess in their case, their cutlasses. So, three groups of these zombie pirate deckhand mobs. For our leadership, we do have Celestra. She's going to be summoning crabs using the Song of Enthrallment. And what really makes her good in this matchup is more often than not, the High Elves are simply going to do what you're seeing. They're going to have a couple white lines to deal with your depth guard, a couple spearmen, of course, which are just so cost effective in this matchup. And they just spam archers. I mean, archers can pretty much kill your gun line, they can kill your deck gunners, they can advance on your artillery. Most of the Vampire Coast roster is very vulnerable to mass archer fire. Having Celestra is a pretty good choice because she does have that 75 physical resist against archer focus fire. And on top of that, she can summon the knights in the back. So the Ghost of the Past is so good. You run up to the spear line, you summon the knights in the back, you chase down the archers, and you net some pretty good value for sure. So Celestra's ready to party. We do also have a Vampire Fleet Captain. I wanted to bring her just in case he did bring Spirit Leech because, of course, the Lore Master of Hoeth does have Spirit Leech. And a couple Spirit Leeches on Celestra is pretty much going to put her in a trash can. And if you don't have a way of healing her, you're going to be in some, bad shape. But don't worry, guys. I will be trying to get a game in the next couple weeks where I just use Lore of the Deep as a pure lore. I don't use any other supporting lore of Vampire. So we do have Celestra. We got the Vampire Caster, two deck gunners here in the back, which usually can outrange archers, but I didn't realize truly how close quarters this map was. I should have had them back here. So this is a huge mistake, having them this close. And at this point, it's pretty much too late to run because my opponent's archers are going to be in range soon, and I might as well just shoot, get my value. We have one Colossus, which I think is one of the best units against the High Elves. And my opponent Falcon here actually does have a pretty cool natural counter to the Colossus. So Lithanar doesn't have the most uses in competitive multiplayer, but he was saying, and I also agree with him, that he does have a good niche against the Vampire Coast here. Because Colossus is a very common pick. He has 300 range, which I think is pretty close to their range. Yeah, 330. He has massive armor piercing. He's basically like a moving cannon, right, or a ballista. So he can just sit on the Colossus and wear it down over the course of the game. Archers here in the back line. For him, it looks like he's got some spears, one group of Silverhelms, pretty cool army here, and also he does have we'll call this guy the Costco Dragon, the Moon Dragon, and breath attacks are really good at countering depth guard, which are one of the things that the Vampire Coast does often bring against High Elves, dual spearmen in the front line. Another one of the High Elf builds you do after, or Vampire Coast builds you do see against High Elves quite often is going to be depth guard and crabs and just chaff in the front line. But anyways, yeah, we got mortars in the back. We got two groups of deck droppers with handguns to deal with cav and armor. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my force. For his force, of course, we talked about it. He has a Moon Dragon, some Silverhelms on the far side. And yeah. Oh yeah, I also have some Scurvy Dogs. So if you're playing the Vampire Coast against the High Elves, you always want to bring a couple groups of Scurvy Dogs to disrupt archers and really stress out your opponent's micro. So guys, let's get the show on the road. And before the breakdown, you can see that my deck gunners are all just getting put in a horrible trash can by those archers. They're just doing a beautiful job. And in the front, already a disaster on all fronts pretty much. Celestra getting one Spirit Leech. She gets put down so damn hard by Spirit Leech. You can see she's down to like 40%. I have to use an Invocation on the Heck. Thankfully, her HP pool is somewhat small, so she's going to be able to heal up pretty quick with Invocation, but that was almost disastrous. Like, I could have just lost the game right there. So I summoned some crabs in the back line. Some of my Scurvy Dogs from the far side of the battlefield did swoop across and get these archers here. The crabs are summoned back here, which are just kind of chasing down all of these guys. So the backline compromise is going pretty well. I also do have mortar fire raining down. And over here on the far side, you can see the Moon Dragon has actually jumped on my Necrofex Colossus. And yeah, I mean, in melee, the Dragon's a little bit better. 46, 50, 520 compared to 42, 30, 412, right? So he does have the advantage here. However, I do have my deck droppers with handguns, which are just such a good counter against dragons. They have massive missile damage. They hit very hard, and they should be able to drag down this Costco Dragon. Celestra, in the meantime, is going to be running back towards the halberds and the mortars and some of these other troops running from the Lore Master of Hoeth, who's just on the hunt. And it's time for those damn Knight Errants. Those damn Knight Errants are going to be getting into the back line again, chasing down these archers. Now, he does intercept me with the Silverhelms, which is a good play, but that's also going to open up my doggos in the back. So the Silverhelms can only be in so many places at once. The dogs are going to be piling in, moving upward after those archers. My crab summons back here. We're able to spank these spearmen a little bit, and yeah, just causing a lot of backline pressure. In the meantime, the mortars are focus firing these two groups of archers. I did move my Vampire Fleet Captain over here and summon some Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs. They're going to be moving back there to chase down those archers. And it looks like those damn Knight Errants are at it again, causing problems. Those damn pesky kids. Here we're going to be chasing these archers and definitely getting some pretty good damage on those bad boys. The Scurvy Dogs are going to be falling to the Silverhelms, but at the cost of these two groups of archers. My other group of Scurvy Dogs is coming back from their retreat in the back of the forest here, and they're going to be moving forward trying to pick on those archers as much as they can. So the battle's actually pretty even. The Lore Master of Hoth is in the back line trying to chase down Solastra, who I ran into the forest. She's actually surprisingly quick for her for her size here. She does have 40 speed, so she's able to waddle back into the trees, and he only has 36. The deck gunners, in the meantime, just punished the dragon. I was actually able to shatter it, putting it down to 139 HP, or 139, is that what it is? I know it doesn't matter, but I'm curious, 159. So the dragon's going to be routed off. My ghosts here are pretty much done for. The spears and the silver helms took them out, but look at the damage we caused. We pushed back these archers were pushed back as well. And imagine if all these archers had been operational, just shooting into my backline, killing my deck droppers here, killing my mortars. I mean, it would have been absolutely disastrous. So that backline pressure was crucial. Also in the back, my scurvy dogs are now being hunted by the silver helms with shields. And yeah, the scurvy dogs, I knew they were pretty much doomed at this point. I mean, I might be able to squeak away, but I was like, I'm going to run them to the furthest point of the back of the map here and have my opponent chase me. But it looks like, yeah, I don't know why they stopped there. I told them to run to the back. But regardless, they're still serving their purpose. The deck droppers, in the meantime, are fighting over here. The Colossus is relatively stable. We do also have Solastra, who's stable, and she's going to be moving up to cause some terror. And the Lore Master of Hoth actually got sniped out pretty bad by the deck droppers there. The Song of Enthrallment is going to be going down to slow him down to 19 speed. And from there, I'm going to be making sure he doesn't come back, because I can't really afford any more Spirit Leeches or other things like that. Lithanar, in the meantime, is just shooting his las cannon here at some of these deck droppers. Or not deck droppers, these are the complete opposite. These are the depth guard. He's shooting at the depth guard, and he's actually gotten them relatively low. Archers are coming back from all across the map, but at least they're very tattered, so they're not going to be at their full, firepower. You can see here the Lore Master of Hoth is also being dragged down by this angry bat fire. The Colossus here is going to be dropping some hot fire on the archers, and I pretty much just have him on the archers the entire game. Solastra and the Depth Guard and my infantry summons should be able to deal with most of the chaff units and spearmen and things like that. But also something else that's quite good is both my mortars are still online. They haven't been disrupted at all. Mortars are still dropping some hot fire, just pressuring those archers. So even if, my infantry and my other units can't get to them, the mortars are going to be able to put perpetual pressure. The Silver Helms are going to be returning from their grand crusade to slay the scurvy dogs from the back of the map. They're going to be running down some of these summoned zombies, but I don't really care. But let's get you guys a slow-mo. I know this is going to be good and tasty. So here comes the High Elf Lances, going to be running down these chaff units here. Archers with a little bit of crossfire should be able to secure his back line for the most part. And Lithanar, up to 45 kills actually. So man, he just got a huge wave of kills. Probably going to start shooting at the deck droppers, but he's definitely best suited shooting at the Colossus, who is, I think, back in the forest somewhere. I always like to keep the Colossus near the trees in case the High Elves do compromise me with the archers. I can just fall back and use his superior range and mobility to kind of get those optimal engagements. Deck Dropper is still sitting, taking some pot shots here to Lithanar. Over here we do have the Deckhand mobs and the Vampire Caster being charged by the Silver Helms, but honestly, the zombie-powered Deckhand mobs in a numbers game, I mean, they have pretty high weapons rank, 29, so they can actually work down like spearmen and things like that. Archers over here are getting some healthy fire, but again, it's just against chaff and mostly summon units. My Depth Guard don't have much left. They have 19 models, but they're going to be getting in there and feasting. I have used a couple invocations on them, and they're getting relatively close to their healing cap. And I haven't really watched any of Celastra's custom attacks. Does she ever pimp slap anyone with her mirror that she has? Oh, she actually does slap with the mirror. That's awesome. Or her fan. Oh my god, I never noticed that. In all the Vampire Coast games, and I know you guys are a little bit sick of Vampire Coast, but honestly, I just love playing them. They're my favorite faction to play right now, and honestly, I feel like they're one of my better factions. So bear with me as I do play a couple Vampire Coast games here and there. But the archers, in the meantime, shooting forward, just kind of working through my units. I mean, I don't have a whole lot left in terms of standard troops, but I do have this Colossus in the back. I have 2 mortars. I have a full health group of halberds, 2 deck droppers, and also my heroes are in pretty good shape. So from here on out, it looks like it's going to be a little bit tough for the High Elves. They have a couple tattered pockets of archers shooting in here, just wearing down my deckhand mobs and some of these other troops. And the Shadow King, in the words of Felcon while we were chatting during this game, is going to live to fight another day, so he's going to be retreating into the forest, and I'm sure he will hunt down Solastra in another part of his life there. So that's pretty much going to be it for the High Elf forces, just kind of cleaning up, chasing down the Spearmen. There is a little bit of a rallying pocket of their forces here, but Solastra should be able to tear out those guys. The deck droppers with guns are going to be able to take them out as well. So very well played by my opponent. It was definitely a very fun game, and I think that's a pretty good, reasonably powerful build against High Elves. Now, my one big misplay that almost cost me the game was my deck gunners just getting murked. I mean, that was a lot of gold, 1,400 gold, I think, out of the gates that I just lost instantly. So that was really tough, but summoning the knights and the crabs in the back line, as well as my scurvy dogs, they were able to kind of net me that value that I lost. They got into the cookie jar, and they were able to really pay their dues. Mortars are also a very good choice because most High Elf players are just going to spam archers, and mortars are kind of an intrinsic cheap counter against archers. So I really recommend those. And Colossus are also another MVP here. You can even go with 2 or 3 Colossus, and it's so hard for them to deal with that. Colossus can just usually outrange archers, they can shoot them to pieces, and they just cause a ton of problems. I do like Solastra quite a bit. I guess most High Elf players that I've been playing against, I have seen a couple Lore Master of Hoeths, a couple Lore Masters, whatever. But most of the time you do see high magic, so Solastra is going to be relatively safe. Granted, Arcane and Forging can really put her in a trash can as well. So She's a little bit of a riskier pick. I think if you're going super competitive, you do bring Noctilus, but again, she can be a surprise thing, and I think it does catch a lot of people off guard with the Summon Knights and things like that, who really got into the cookie jar quite well. So if I had to change the build, I don't know if I would change it too much. I'd probably keep it the same and maybe move the Death Gunners back into the forest and have them be like a deep Overwatch unit. And maybe I would just cut the Depth Guard. Like, they just felt lackluster. Even though they got 99 kills, they got focused down so quick early in the battle, and I just had to run with them. So I'd probably just cut them and get like a bunch of deckhand mobs just to kind of muck things up. I think that's a little bit better. Now, as far as the High Elves go, I do think Lithanar is a nice niche pick against the Noctilus and against, Colossus and things like that. Although this game I didn't really feel his impact too much. I know he was able to snipe out my depth guard, and I feel like a lot of the time he was just kind of kiting backwards and stuff like that. But yeah, I do like Lithanar quite a bit. I think Turin is a very good choice. I think that the Pigeon Lady is always a pretty solid competitive pick. But yeah, his build was good. I like the Moondragon in case I had gone with like a Blitz style of play using just depth guard and crabs and deckhand mobs, which you do see against High Elves to counter their archer play. With a bunch of scurvy dogs in the back. I think the dragon would have been a lifesaver simply because of the breath attacks. It's AP against depth guard. It can really kill them quite quickly. But in this situation with the deck gunners and some of my other picks, it didn't work out too well. So very well played to my opponent Falcon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Coast versus High Elf game. We will see you guys next time. Take care.